Well, October is ADHD, Depression, and Menopause Awareness Month, and according to our next guest, millions of women are living at the intersection of all three without even knowing it. Shanna Pearson joining us now. She is an author and an ADHD coach. Shanna, thanks for taking time for us. So let's talk about this intersection of these three things.
So it's basically coming up a lot where, you know, women who are in midlife going through menopause are starting to feel they're now starting to realize that they've had ADHD their entire life, because the brain fog that's associated with menopause for everyone is so severe, and much more severe than a lot of their peers or a lot of other women their same age that are going through the same thing. So then they go to a doctor and, you know, they explain all of their symptoms, and they're being, you know, diagnosed and sometimes misdiagnosed. I'll say that too. But they find out eventually that they do have ADHD and that they've been living with it their entire life and never knowing it.
Yeah, and I'm amazed at actually how much, I'm just anecdotally hearing this. How much does ADHD manifest itself differently in women than men, and why is that important that we acknowledge?
It's everything. So ADHD in women generally manifests itself internally. So everyone knows about the hyperactivity component that's associated with ADHD. And men tend to exhibit that hyperactivity component more externally. So in ways that are more visually obvious. You know, when they were children, it was a little bit more annoying, and they're, you know, the ones that were called out by their teachers and parents and whatnot. But for women and for girls, it's a lot more internal. So all of that hyperactivity is nonstop ruminating, catastrophizing, just worrying nonstop and thinking nonstop about everything imaginable, and it's not always good, the things that we're thinking about. So because it's more stimulating to think about things that are, you know, that are troublesome. And so that's part of it. That's a big part of ADHD, but it also is part of why a lot of women are being misdiagnosed with anxiety and depression, because the hyperactivity is internalized. It's all in our thoughts and all in our thinking, and it affects our mood in such a huge way. It's very easy to get mistaken for anxiety or for depression. When a woman expresses, you know, like, I can't stop worrying, my life isn't working out the way I wanted it to, I haven't been able to achieve what I wanted to achieve, and it's really hard for me to go from point A to point B, the doctor will generally give us a self-assessment for anxiety or for depression. But the thing that I want like every woman to know is that these self-assessments for anxiety and depression overlap so heavily with ADHD. So the anxiety self-assessment, the GAD-7, which is the most common self-assessment that's administered, it has 7 questions, and these seven points would all be answered more than half the days or nearly all the days for any woman that has ADHD. So it's, you know, feeling nervous, trouble relaxing, feeling afraid that something might happen because we tend to catastrophize. All of these things are very, you know, are overlapping with ADHD. And it's the same thing for the depression scale. The PHQ-9, which is the most common depression scale, the self-assessment that your family physician will give you, there are 9 questions here, and 8 of them overlap with ADHD symptoms. So again, a woman with ADHD who's not feeling great about her life, which tends to be the case, will, you know, it'll say, like, you know, more than half the days she feels like she has these symptoms, and she'll be diagnosed with moderate depression.
Yeah, so it sounds like we need much better tools. So how do we do a better job in terms of diagnosing?
So the diagnostic criteria for ADHD needs to include the symptoms that women experience, which really is, and it's not there yet. But I feel like if a woman is experiencing these symptoms of, you know, anxiety and depression, but if she's been feeling overwhelmed her entire life, in terms of like that feeling of a deer caught in headlights, where you feel like everything is happening all at the same time and you just don't know what to do first, and you've had that experience for most of your life, then you need to go to a specialist for ADHD, and hopefully it's a specialist that knows the symptoms that women have, which are much more internalized versus the, you know, the external fidgeting that is often associated with ADHD.
Yeah, and maybe your book a great place to sort of start that understanding. Just quickly, Invisible ADHD, this will get into all those things?
This will get into everything plus 100 tools and systems and techniques of how to manage your moods, your productivity, just everything that you need to manage in your life so that you can actually feel better, which is the number one. It's the number one goal.
Yeah, is it ever. Great stuff. Thank you, Shanna, so much. Appreciate your time this morning. That is Shanna Pearson, an author and ADHD coach.